In the modern world, we have to get this time management thing right. This is Daniel Juster coming to you from Jerusalem, from Restoration from Zion of Tikkun Global, and want to encourage you to take the whole course on relational leadership. But these clips should be helpful to you as well. Please sign up for our newsletter, get a hold of the book, Relational Leadership, the many other publications we do, the discipling work we do, the mentoring of leaders we do, the planting, the oversight. We're still extremely engaged in Restoration from Zion, with my son now being part of that, and our wives. So connect to our newsletter and see what we're doing. One of the issues that pastors have is the issue of time management. And time can get away from you because you come to this place where you feel that the needs of people have to be met when they demand their needs to be met. So your life is connected to responding to the demands of the people. And if you get into that kind of ministry, you're going to be really in trouble. One of the things I want to say about this relational leadership course is it's good for all of the members of a congregation to take it, not just the leaders, because if the members take it, then they are supportive of their leaders and want their leaders to fulfill this pattern rather than trying to pull them out of the pattern. So 40 years ago, almost 40 years ago, when I was leading a congregation, at that time it was moderate size, 135, 140 people, and was drowning in it. Then the congregation grew to 400 over the years, and it was easier to lead the 400 than it was to lead the 135. And I'll explain why. The reason why was that I did not set time management boundaries. And so it came to a crisis with my wife when I was not able to spend time with her, and the children, who were very young, were being neglected by me. And so we went for counseling with Dr. Michael Rudolph, who had, at that time, the leadership of something called the Shalom Counseling Center. And like I said, we took all our leaders through counseling to learn and to grow. And Dr. Rudolph sat with us and realized what the problem was right away. And he came up with a time management system for us, which was absolutely amazing. And I think that if you are one of those people who feel like everything is an emergency and you must need it, you'll really hurt your family. So we came up with a pattern that the mornings were going to be for prayer and seeking God and developing the teachings, except certain days, like maybe there was a pastor's fellowship going on or something else. So there were exceptions, but the normal pattern was that mornings were for prayer and seeking the Lord. And this is my spiritual father, Chaplain Welsh at Wheaton College, had that part in the pattern and encouraged me to develop that. So it wasn't new, but I had gotten away from it because I was, as I said in an earlier clip, I was just responding to all the phone calls. Then the next thing was that the afternoons were going to be for my administration and time in the office, and there I would receive phone calls for anybody that wanted to call me. And then I would go home and be home from 5 to 7. That was our family time every night, and that was when the kids were young. We had to extend that and make it more 5:30 to 7:30 and then 6 to 8. So I wouldn't go back into the ministry until 7:30 or 8 o'clock at night. Now, one of the things that's important to recognize that in congregational ministry, because your people work, most of the ministry is done at night. Plus, if you raise up lay leaders, and there's really no such distinction in the Bible, but people that are working every day in the business world or the professional world, their time to be ministering to people outside of the people that are with them at work is going to be at night as well. So I would every night turn the phones off. We had an answering machine, but I would tell people to call again and to not expect me to go back to call them all, because then it's hard to get them and it makes it hard for me. No. I hope he does.
Could we do the last part from the answering machine?
Yes.
Story? So we'll start from there. Okay.
So we had an answering machine, and we tried to tell people to call me back rather than to require me to call them, because it would require several calls and it would take a lot of time. And I told them the times when they could call. And then in the evenings, after family time, when the children were in bed, that's when I would get involved in counseling. That's when I would have people over the house for mentoring, who was mentoring into leadership. I mostly did leadership mentoring in those evenings that were not the day off. My day off was Thursday evening I took off. But I would give myself to counseling one night a week, and I would bring other leaders as part of it. I would give myself to leadership mentoring a couple of nights a week. Some nights would be the cell group training night once a month. Some nights were the elders meeting board. And the elders meeting board night, I didn't have that family time, but that was once a month, and they would start at 6:30 and go as long as we needed. So we began to develop this family pattern. We took a day off every week. We took vacations several weeks a year where we went away as a family. And we began to really be rigid about enforcing this pattern of life. And you know what? The kids grew up not feeling like they were neglected, but that the ministry was not something they hated, because they were cared for, and all my kids are in ministry today. But I was responding now in a way that was so different. One of my best friends in college became a pastor, and he said he was going to find a wife that was going to be with him and having no children. He didn't want to have any children because he had experienced as a camp counselor that most of the kids that were from pastors' homes were very angry about their family life and feeling neglected, and they were the most rebellious kids in the camp. They were known to be the most rebellious, and he decided, I can't raise children and be a pastor. I decided I could raise children and be a pastor, and I was going to come against that view or orientation. And I found myself doing the same things wrong that led to all those kids being rebellious at our camp. So this pattern of life, which I talk about in the Relational Leadership book, is very crucial. And I want to encourage everybody to read the book and look at this pattern of life and give yourself to that.